Hello and welcome everybody to the official book launch of For the Love of Autism book. We could not be more excited to be here with you all in this special moment, in this special day of launching this book. It is especially exciting because not only are we celebrating this launch, but this month we are also launching we are also in Autism Awareness Month. I can't be as excited as I am now because we just have so much amazing things in store. And I want to make sure that today we celebrate, we honor, and are happily celebrating the day. Fig Factor Media is proud to be the publisher of this incredible book, and we are so happy to have incredible authors on board with us today. This book, I'm sure you will hear so much about it, but it came through many inspirations and many moments that all brought us, obviously, to today. So with that, I want to make sure I welcome and introduce you to the very special people that made all of this possible. One of which is the CEO and founder of Fig Factor Media, our incredible publisher that was able to create this wonderful book. Her name is Jacqueline Ruiz, and she is the founder of Fig Factor Media. Jackie Ruiz is a visionary social entrepreneur that has created an enterprise of inspiration. With more of 20 years of experience in the marketing and public relations industry, she has created 2 successful award-winning companies, established 2 nonprofit organizations, published 27 books, including the largest collection of Latina stories in a book anthology in the world, and has held events in over 4 continents. She has received over 30 awards for her contributions and business acumen. Jackie speaks to hundreds of audiences about marketing, servant leadership, finding your passion, and achieving success in business. She has addressed the United States Army, Airbus, BP International, United Airlines, Allstate, Northern Trust USA and Europe, and Farmers Insurance, among other corporations, to share her inspiration. She has been featured in Forbes Inc. Magazine, Univision, Telemundo, ABC7, WTTW, NBC5, and so many among others. Jackie goes by her famous words of taking off is optional, but landing on your dreams is mandatory. With that, welcome, Jackie.
Thank you, and welcome everyone to this amazing celebration. It is said that the definition of fire is the light and the heat that produces a beautiful flame. In slang words, fire is also defined as something great, amazing, and exciting. And if I were to pick a word to describe the amazing Tamika Lecheé Morales, I would choose the word fire. It is with fire that you initiate life-changing moments like this. It is with fire that you ignite an idea, a thought, and you land on your dreams. It is with fire that you gather people from all walks of life, united with one story. We are all one story. Let me tell you about the visionary of this incredible anthology. And I feel amazingly honored to have the team, Gabi, Manuel Serna, and our team, Juan Pablo Ruiz, Enrique, who's leading the background, and to come together for this celebration today and what it means to take a moment to say our struggles, our obstacles, all that matters, because when we open up our heart to share the beauty of the stories that are inside of us, we can change at least one soul. We can change at least one individual that sees beauty all over. And allow me to introduce you to this incredible author, Tamika Lecheé Morales, that has poured many thousands and probably millions of micro moments preparing for this, connecting you, bringing you together to celebrate your stories. And that is one of the most beautiful things that you can do for another human being. Tamika is a teacher. She's an actress, author, speaker, entrepreneur, and president of the Autism Hero Project, a nonprofit organization after her own heart. When Tamika is not serving her community primarily as a second grade teacher, dual language teacher, she's serving the autism community as president of the Autism Hero Project, an organization dedicated to preparing kids with autism for the world and preparing the world for them. How beautiful. AHP does more than just raise awareness and compassion for families and children in the autism spectrum. They are intentional about creating a world of inclusion and sponsor medical insurance for children on the spectrum to gain access to the therapies they need to thrive and unlock their full potential, just like that beautiful fire. As an actress, Tamika has been fortunate to play several leading roles by inspiring Latinx playwrights. Tamika is passionate about serving humanity by raising cultural awareness, invoking thought, and raising consciousness in the hearts and minds of audiences. Her acting career became the catalyst for sharing life stories as a playwright and as a co-author of the series Today's Inspired Latina Volume 3, Life Stories of Success in the Face of Adversity, published in May 2017, and her stories Heroes Wanted in the Hispanic Star Rising, The New Face of Power, released in November 2020. Her latest book titled Inclusion was also released in December 2021 as part of the Word Power Amazing series. So with that, bring the fire, ignite our heart with your amazing inspiration, and let the party begin.
Wow, thank you, thank you, thank you. It is with a grateful heart that I have to say, grateful heart is just a magnet for miracles. And when I started counting my blessings, my whole life just turned around. And I woke up this morning with an attitude of gratitude and with a devout thanksgiving. And so first, obviously, Jackie, thank you, not only for being my publisher, but for also being my dear friend. There aren't words that really can put the oomph in what I want to say, but I'm going to try. You are a dream catcher, a magic maker, and a make it happen queen. And my world changed the minute I met you. Thank you for coming into my life when you did, because it's been an amazing ride. And I'm so appreciative to you and this moment. And I can't wait to see what the future holds for you and I, Pilotina and Firesa. Together, I know that skies are the limit. I love you. I love the Fig Factor Media team, Gabi, our author concierge, Anna Fisher, my sister in editing, Isar Olivares, my wordsmith, Anna Marie Kuket Tomsic, my Get It Right proofreader, and Juan Manuel Serna, my beautiful book designer, along with Juan Pablo Ruiz, who has this creativity that is unmatched, and Marie Lazara, public relations manager. You guys have all been a dream team to work with, and I am in such gratitude, and I thank you. And while I'm expressing my big heart of gratitude, I couldn't let this moment pass without thanking one of my besties who's behind the scenes, who's gonna make me emotional, who showed up when she saw my post of, I didn't have a setup yet, and she was like, I got you. She always shows up when I need her most. And she's the one who planted the seed for this anthology. She's a true loyal friend and a confidant. She's my soundboard and my cheerleader. She's my prayer warrior. And I am so thankful that you always show up when I need you most. Thank you, Jeannie. And we've been on some crazy adventures together. Thank you for always showing up and saying, all right, I'll take this crazy trip with you. And thank you, amiga. And thank you, Jeanette Segui, who is here, who came and did my hair. Thank you, Segui. She's part of our tribe. And to all of my friends and family watching, and especially to my heroes from the Autism Hero Project. You have blessed me with a community that words fall short. I could never imagine that you would bless me more than the families that we're blessing. I'm grateful to my superhuman squad, Jamie Clark, Angelica Silver, Marcus Williams, Michelle Capusta, Jennifer Lewis, Sylvia Garcia, Deborah Wilbur, Mary Jane Battaglia, Deborah Hines, and all of our volunteers for doing the heroes work that you do. This book has been a true labor of love, and there's so many more people that I have to thank, but we'd be here all night. So the reality is that this book is here today because of all of these people who have been by my side in different seasons and who have invested in me and poured into me when my own cup has been low. I am a better person because of them. And so it is with this full heart that I am before all of you today. In this book, I go into great lengths to express my gratitude and the acknowledgements. And so you will have your name in print and know that I love you. And so for the sake of time, I just want to thank everybody who showed up today. This is truly a surreal moment, surreal. I know that we have hundreds that registered. I heard that we beat a virtual record. So I know that that has nothing to do with me, but as much as it does with all of the influencers and all of the other authors who are on this journey with me. This book is for everyone, not just those who have been touched by autism. The inspiration behind this book was simple. We started with a love letter to my son, Legend, and then it just turned into a love letter to the world. And this book truly is dedicated to that legendary kid who has taught me more than I could ever teach him. Maximilian Eros Morales, you are my world, my love, my everything. Thank you for making me all that I am and all that I never knew I could be. This book is also dedicated to a world that is too blind to see, too noisy to hear, and too slow to change. If you wake up tomorrow, it's still not too late. And this book wouldn't be possible if 19 other authors didn't say yes to me, mostly without even knowing me. I shared my heart of how I wanted this book to impact the world, and they were down for the ride. And this book is ultimately because of them. And with that, I'm just going to share a short excerpt, and then we'll get the program started so that you can hear from the people who made this book possible. For the love of autism, writing this book is like writing an extension of your soul. You do it for different reasons. To know that you're not alone, to connect, to forgive, to teach, to heal, or maybe to remember. Whatever the root of it is, you are the one who gets to define it. Maybe your story will connect with others. Maybe they will see themselves in you. You hope that your story will resonate, so you slave over every word, you second guess, and you dare to get vulnerable at the risk of exposing too much. And maybe in your attempt to explain your experiences, you show the parts of you that normally hide, or worse, you expose the people you love. You fear that your words later may come to haunt you, so you pause and set boundaries, erase and retreat, and then you return it, and then you write some more and read and edit and write again until you think it is ready. You don't want to hurt anyone with your words because you know that words have power, and once published, they can never be erased. So to write is to be brave, and I commend these authors for showing up with bravery. Brené Brown shares that the biggest myth about vulnerability is that it is weakness. People were raised to believe that to be vulnerable and exposed is to be weak. And then she argues that vulnerability is all about strength, about courage, and I agree. So to paraphrase Ernest Hemingway, writing is easy. You just sit down at the typewriter and bleed. These authors have owned their stories and are authentic in their storytelling. And for that, I sing them their praises. Each one has opened their heart and spilled a fraction of it on a page in exchange for you to understand how love transformed them, and in hopes that For the Love of Autism can transform you too. With that, I'd like to introduce the very first author. This person is the most dearest to me. He is my Hugo boss, as I like to refer to him. Hugo Leonel Morales is a first-time author, father to our autistic boy, a John Maxwell certified instructor, a volunteer extraordinaire for the Autism Hero Project, and a sales and tech enthusiast. You can connect with Hugo Morales on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my man, my husband, Hugo Morales.
Well, I'm supposed to follow all that. Hey, good evening, everybody. You know, I wrote this whole thing out, and it just I had an amazing. I'm here at work. I'm in Nashville, and there's some work events going on, and a long day was scheduled to be to happen for today, and I told my boss what's going on, and I had a cool experience with the big boss. He's like, "Hey, where are you off to?" I said, "Well, I don't know if you've heard." He goes, I officially became part of a book and being a published author. And we started talking about autism, and he just looks at me and goes, "Yeah, I know. I noticed your socks." I said, "Yeah, man." I pull up my pants and I show him. Everywhere I travel, whether it's a pin, whether it's my socks, I'm always letting people know where autism is in our lives. And this whole experience was just nothing less than incredible. And I'd be a fool to move on without really saying, Tamika, my love, to see this process and to see the amount of work and dedication that you put through, it's nothing less than amazing and incredible. I saw the hard work, the days you're up late and you're up at night and I'm yelling at you to turn off your computer. I got to get some sleep the next day. And Tamika doesn't know, she only knows one speed, right? And that's go. Again, the heart and dedication. And I always say this everywhere I go. If I had half that energy, I'd be president. So I really want to say that before I move on. This whole thing has been nothing but an incredible experience. And she can tell you when she first approached me about being author in the book, I was like, that's not something I want. It's not something I don't know if I want to do. And it's not because I didn't think it was a good situation or a good thing to be a part of. It's just that I don't know how to write. It's something I've never done. It's a process I had to learn. So when I tell you that this is nothing more than just an incredible self-development and learning experience. And I say that because, I write 6-7 paragraphs. It goes out to the editor, and it comes back hacked, slashed, half my story's gone. I can't tell how many times I threw my hands in the air going, "Hey, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this anymore. You guys are killing my story," right? And it took a couple of times with me kind of finally giving in, which, your husband and wife, those that know, sometimes guys think we need to kind of hang on to that one thing that we fight for. And I was like, you know what? All right, fine, Tamika, I'll listen to you. She goes, "Hugo, you need to understand something, that you're telling a story and the way you're writing it, it's like you're writing it to your friends, and you have to understand your friends may know some of the nuances and the things you're referring to, but you're not writing this book for your friends." And that right there, it took a little bit, it clicked. So between some work and getting it done and more editing and me getting more upset and frustrated about the process, when it was all said and done with some help, and again, Tamika, I love you because you helped me out extensively to understand the point that I was really trying to make. And when that story was done, I was just like, "Oh, this is great." I went a different spin with my life and how I look at autism because everybody knows I'm a full-time sarcastic guy. I know people are going to share the stories tonight and be just different about how they approached it. My story was about Maxim, and you're going to realize how Tamika and I just approach it 2 different ways. But my story is about how I just laugh with him. The kid makes me laugh. He's come a long ways with the things that he's learned, his nuances, and just being a full-time jokester. But my story, once you get a chance to read it, I know there's going to be many different things that people are going to talk about. But I run into so many people that just like, when you talk about it, they almost cringe like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, not at all. This kid's hilarious. So my story, enjoy it. It has some great stuff in it. I'm glad to be a part of it. And thanks again for the opportunity. And to all the authors out there, good luck. And thanks for letting me be part of this whole thing with you.
There's so much I want to say, but I'm going to just say, I love you. Thank you. And with that, we're going to pivot right into the next author. Thank you. Our next author, I am so excited to introduce Dr. Kerry Magro. He is an award-winning professional speaker and best-selling author. Kerry has become a role model in the disabled community. Non-speaking at 2.5 and diagnosed with autism at 4, Kerry has overcome countless obstacles to get to where he is today. He currently is CEO and founder of KFM Making a Difference, a nonprofit corporation focused on disability advocacy and housing. And today, Kerry travels the country and has spoken at over 1,150 events in the past 11 years. Of his highlights include publishing 4 Amazon best-selling books, Defining Autism from the Heart, Autism and Falling in Love, I Will Light It Up Blue, and his newest book, Autistics on Autism. He's also consulted on the 2012 motion picture, Joyful Noise, and he's consulting on the upcoming season of Netflix, Love on the Spectrum, one of my absolute favorite shows on Netflix. And if you haven't seen it, please go watch it. All 3 up to this point. And Kerry currently resides in Hoboken, New Jersey. So without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Kerry Magro.
I love that introduction. Wow. I mean, you can take my 2 minutes. You did great. Wow. I love seeing all the beautiful people here tonight. My name is Dr. Kerry Magro. I am just so honored to have been able to meet Tamika, to learn more about her organization. And then she was writing a book. And I love the title. It kind of just stuck out to me right away because we often have a saying, and I say this often in our community, is that autism doesn't come with an instruction guide. It sometimes comes with a family who will never give up. And I love a lot of people in our autism community to the moon and back. And that's kind of where I saw the theme of Tamika's book going when we first jumped on a call together and we just started talking a little bit more about the book. I was just so empowered by the book before it was even a book. And that's when you're in, you can be part of something truly special. I applaud Tamika for doing this book. I think it's going to be an Amazon bestseller. I think it's going to be as Temple, I love you to death, always will. Temple's books have obviously become such a key part of our autism community. I see Tamika's book doing something similar. Being able to write the foreword for this book is one of the greatest honors of my life, and something that I will cherish every single day for the rest of my life. So without further ado, I mean, Tamika already said in the bio, it's the non-speaking kid who was told so many times what he would never be able to do in this world. And speaking in front of all of you today as a full-time, one of the only professionally certified public speakers on the autism spectrum in the country, there is a lot of hope in our community. I've overcome a lot of my obstacles at this time. And I just hope this book will become an educational tool for love and acceptance within our community. So thank you again, Tamika, and thank you all for contributing to what is going to be a game-changing book within our community.
Oh my God, Kerry, thank you so much. That means the world to me. During every break, I am literally wiping my tears. You guys have no idea. I'm trying not to cry in front of the public, but everybody behind the scenes sees like the tissues and me wiping my tears. My heart is just so full at this moment, and your words And to think that you couldn't speak at 2.5. God, thank you that he can, because those words that he just said are priceless. This is going to be an Amazon bestseller. Carrie Magro said it, so it's got to be true. Thank you, Carrie, so much for saying yes. Thank you for writing the foreword and writing a chapter. I think that there are going to be so many people who are going to get so much out of both. And I'm blessed that you said yes. Thank you. Thank you. And then with that, this person I'm about to introduce, I will tell you honestly, was the first autistic that I ever followed. And her posts were like game changers to me. I admire this woman so much. She has no idea about the influence and impact. Like, I want to be her best friend. That's really, I want to be her best friend. Eileen Lamb, author of All Across the Spectrum and Be the One, is the founder of the Autism Cafe. And if you guys are not following her, please right now, stop what you're doing. Follow her on Facebook, follow her on Instagram. She's absolutely amazing. She's a writer, a photographer, a podcast host for Adulting on the Spectrum. She was born in France. Eileen now lives in Austin, Texas with her 2 sons, Charlie 9 and Jude 6. And their soon-to-be little sister is on the way. On her blog, she shares the ups and downs of raising a severely autistic child while being on the autism spectrum herself. And I just want to add, you'll read this in the book, in the acknowledgements, but Eileen was the very first influencer that I went to. She didn't know me from Adam. She knew nothing about me. And she entertained me. And I told her my mission and vision for this book. And she jumped right in. And not only did she jump in, with no hesitation, she helped me to rally the best authors that I could ever imagine to be part of it with us. So thank you, Eileen Lamb. The floor is yours.
Hey everyone, thank you, Tamika. It's true, when you reached out to me, I didn't know much about you, but I loved what you wanted to do with this book. And I'm really glad I said yes, and seeing everyone here tonight is nice. We have such amazing people here, and everyone has a different perspective to give, which is what I really like about your book, is that, you know, you have autistic people, you have parents, you know, you have people with kids who have low support needs, high support needs. It's really, it gives you the whole picture of autism. Well, you can really never get the entire picture, but it gives you really a lot of great perspectives. For my chapter, I really wanted to focus on, you know, what it's like for me to have autism, and how it's different from my oldest son, Charlie, who's severely autistic, level 3, however you want to describe this. I wanted to show how broad the spectrum is. And, you know, you guys might know Dr. Stephen Shore, and he said, if you know one autistic person, you know one autistic person. And this quote rings so true to me. And I think this book really represents that, all our unique perspectives. And I'm really excited to be a part of this. And I hope you love my words and the words of all the other authors who were part of this book. And thank you for the opportunity.
They're going to love your story. Oh, I got to unmute. They're going to love your story. I have no doubt. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure I unmuted myself. Great. Eileen, your love letter alone could be a book in itself. So I have no doubt that they're going to love your story. Everybody loves you. How can they not? Thank you again for saying yes. Je t'aime. All right. With that, the next amazing author that I want to introduce to you today is Nicole Gottesman. She is a stay-at-home mom and blogger. You can find her blog on Instagram at the handle at Nicole Gottesman, as well as on her Facebook page and YouTube channel titled For the Love of Gabe. Nicole and her family share their lives as a family impacted by autism. Her inspiring posts and videos have an uplifting message. In spite of many obstacles, it is possible to have an amazing life full of love and hope, which is exactly what this book is about. That's why she's such a perfect author. And I was like, okay, this is the next person that I definitely need to reach out to. I've been following her also for a while. And Gabriel, if you don't know Gabriel by now, he's the most handsome, the most charming little boy who's actually the same age as my legend. And there's something about his eyes that's, he communicates and it just reaches you at your soul. Nicole Gottesman has shared that after losing her firstborn prematurely, she became pregnant again. And 5 months later, Nicole became a widow while pregnant with Gabriel. Gabriel is now 12 years old, actually, and was diagnosed with severe autism before the age of 2. Just like me, she's a native New Yorker, and she currently lives in Gaithersburg, Maryland, with her partner, Caroline Kiernan, and Gabe's best friend, their golden retriever, Bailey. Without further ado, help me welcome Nicole Gottesman. Nicole, you're up. The floor is yours, beautiful.
Oh, great. Hold on. Okay.
And your hair looks fabulous, Nicole.
Oh.
I just want to say that.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I want to thank you for including me in this very important book. My 12-year-old son, Gabe, was diagnosed with autism before he turned 2 years old. I was raising him on my own as my husband had passed away when I was 12 weeks pregnant with him. When I was told Gabe was severely autistic, I imagined the worst, that Gabe would never talk and that we'd both be alone forever. It wasn't until I started meeting people in the autism community.
Sorry. I'm so sorry, Nicole.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
It wasn't until I started meeting people in the autism community through social media, from using the hashtags autism and autism mom, that I was able to meet more people and life became a lot less scary. Through my love for Gabe, my unconditional acceptance followed. I stopped obsessing over Gabe being able to talk and became focused on communication in whichever way worked best for him. Gabe is non-speaking, but he communicates in so many beautiful ways. He uses an AAC device. He's learning how to spell to communicate. He speaks with his eyes. He also communicates through dancing and singing. Connecting with others is his strong suit. So years ago, I shared a video on Instagram of Gabe reuniting with his babysitter after she had gone away to college, which shows that love needs no words. I could not believe the impact it made on so many people. And as a result, my community was built. So I'm fortunate enough to have so many people interested and engaged in following the autism community through my relationship with Gabe. And I hope that if you can relate, you'll join us on my Instagram page at Nicole Gottesman, or you can also follow us on Facebook and YouTube at For the Love of Gabe. This book is so important because it will help so many parents of newly diagnosed kids to see a brighter future than I was able to see 10 years ago. Through my story and For the Love of Autism, I hope that I conveyed the beauty and brightness of what you can have through unconditional love and acceptance. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. That was beautiful. All right, I'm trying not to cry, but I want to introduce this next author, and I love this next author's story. Andrew Arbo is the founder of Driving with Autism, and he specializes in helping autistic drivers and their families pursue driving as a transportation option. Andrew Arbo found his path in driving because of his own personal experiences learning how to drive, And while being autistic, he saw that there was troubles and the lack of resources and how certain research added to these transportation issues. And it is for this reason that he chose to meet these challenges and the lack of resources that were out in the world by becoming a resource himself. And he began presenting workshops on driving for autistics. And Andrew knows that he cannot speak for everyone's experience. So he embraces the idea of going over tips and concepts to help new drivers create their own roadmap on driving. And I know that for so many parents, including myself, that's always a question, is in the future, if the future will hold driving as an option for our children. And Andrew has broken the barrier to say, yes, absolutely. But he's done more than that. He's helped so many other autistics be able to find and realize their dream of being able to drive. And it gives me so much hope. So it is with a great honor that I introduce Andrew Arbo to you.
Oh, there it goes. Okay. This is going to be hard for, am I good now? Good now? Oh, okay. That was a good introduction. I'm not sure what I can top with, but it's been interesting. Originally, I wanted to do a lot more in special education, to be honest. I actually worked as a paraprofessional for a year or two, right before the pandemic hit. And during this time, driving was something that I just needed as like an employment gain. In my state in Connecticut, there's not too much. There wasn't as much. There was a little bit more, probably because of a certain someone, but it just something came up and it became an accidental special interest just because I needed it for my employment gain. I don't think I really need to mention adult statistics. I really don't think so, but it just became something that I just got into, and it got to the point, and I can attest to this. Yesterday, I actually was driving to an autism research study. Want to get back to that and just want to be part of studies whenever I can. And at the point where I was driving on the highway and I was doing kind of planned little coffee drinks, while my hand on one hand on the steering wheel, of course. And it just was like, it just that feeling, I guess the feeling of just kind of being alive, as not because of the caffeine, as being a huge iced coffee drinker myself, but I just get that feeling of like that ecstasy, that like that, I guess it's like electricity. I'm trying to describe it the best possible way. And it was like, that's kind of the thing I kind of want to imprint. While my series, my company, Driving with Autism, is very open, because hey, every autistic is different in what they want to do, and that's perfectly okay. I find driving just to be highly customizable. Like I was mentioning, coffee during a drive, it just gets me that feeling of just being alive. I also listen to video game music. But hey, other autistics will probably prefer different options. They might want to play classical music, and that's honestly okay. And it is why in my series, I wanted to kind of get people to start thinking. I'll be like, what tools they could use, as long as they don't endanger anyone. Anything that they use is fair game. I just want to imprint that solutions-based stuff, and also inspired by Bar Rescue. Far too much of that for my own good, and here I am. But it just has been really that. And I want to thank Andrew Comer from Playing Across the Spectrum for being one of my biggest supporters in driving. And be sure to check out the series. Go to autismdriving.com for our upcoming spring session where we help with driver prep education. Go to the contact page if anyone is interested in meeting with me to kind of go over the series, and I will leave it to the next person.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you so much, Andrew, for sharing that. I really appreciate you. Our next author, we're going to jump to Val. We're going to give the next author that we had lined up just a minute so that she can attend to her child. And so we're going to go straight to Valerie Brooks. So it is with a great honor that I share a little bit about Valerie, who's based out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. She is a BSN registered nurse and the founder of Autistic Interpretations. This is another great platform that if you are not following it, please make sure that you go and follow them on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere they have a blog. Their social media community is huge. She is a mother of 3 adult children. She is the primary caregiver to her fully dependent, autistic and blind 34-year-old daughter named Jessica. Together, they share a glimpse into their lives, rich with family and poodles and Southern cooking. The goal of Val and Jessica, hashtag the good ones community, is to share that beyond challenges and frustrations, they find joy, entertainment, lessons, and laughs. Lots of laughter. As someone who's watched so many of their videos, their life together is good and progress never stops. Valerie and Jessica's active engagement with their Good Ones community and their followers has enriched their lives beyond their wildest expectations. And so you will be so blessed when you read her story. And so without further ado, I introduce you to Valerie Brooks.
Hey, Tamika, thank you so much for that intro. I really appreciate the opportunity to participate in this project. From the beginning, I've wanted to just demonstrate what life is like once a dependent adult ages out of high school. When I first began blogging in 2015, I wrote about our history. It was a path that was paved with discouragement, frustrations, and failures. And when I started writing, my position was somewhat defensive. After decades of trying to achieve some level of measurable success, I felt the need to justify the situation we were in. For a long time, I thought Jessica would learn academics. And at the very least, by the time she aged out of public school, I thought we would find a job placement for her that fit her skill set. But what I didn't expect to happen was for us to lose the academic battle, to fail to find a job placement, and to be unsuccessful with independent living skills. And we ran out of options for safe and appropriate daily care for Jessica. And the biggest thing I never really expected was to have to give up my career to stay home and be a full-time caregiver for Jess. But you know, the other thing I didn't expect that has been the really positive side to all this is in the blogging world, I found an entire community that I could relate to. And prior to finding that, I literally felt so alone up until that point. And Jessica was already in her 20s at that point, and I just always felt like I was the only one going through all this. But then I connected to parents like Nicole. They feel our same challenges, worries, struggles, and failures. And as I connected to people, our blog began to morph and away from the defensive side. And I wanted to offer hope to parents to give some insight into what future might be. To me, I never expected this is what we were going to end up with, Jessica being a dependent adult that needed full-time care forever. But you know what? We have a joyful life, and that's one of the things we talk about, sharing a joyful life with a dependent adult. We live a simple life, but it's rich with accommodations, friendship, family, laughter, and the ordinary. And without the difficult road we traveled, we wouldn't have ended in what is now our perfect place. And that is me working from home, where I could manage and supervise her daily care, and also finding the peace of acceptance of where we are and where she is. Success simply looks different than we dreamed that it would. And at this point, Jess is really thriving. So am I. So are we. And we're happy. So I hope that our chapter in the book will be encouraging and provide that insight that I think a lot of parents need.
Your story is really special, Valerie. And I have no doubt that it's going to connect with the audiences. Your honesty, your vulnerability, you really left it all on the page. And so thank you for accepting this project and truly being as authentic as you could about it. Thank you. All right. It's actually a pleasure that you're both sitting right next to each other because this makes it really easy, doesn't it? Also based out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, Hannah Brooks is the youngest of Valerie Brooks' 3 children. She is a certified American Sign Language English interpreter and the co-creator on Autistic Interpretations, a social media community that spans a blog, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. She graduated magna cum laude from I'm going to butcher this. I'm going to try not to. Valdosta State University. Did I say that right, Hannah?
Yes.
Great. With a BSc in American Sign Language English interpreting. Hannah has been a full-time nanny and a lifelong caregiver to her sister with autism. I like to say she's her sister's keeper. She enjoys quiet days at home with her family, as well as family trips to the mountains, Disney World, and the beach. One of Hannah's greatest joys is her 1-year-old poodle puppy, Darrow. I'd like to welcome Hannah Brooks to the spotlight.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be a part of this group of amazing and inspiring people, and sitting here right now, hearing everybody's bios and their stories, I can't help but smile, and I'm so excited to get the book. And what I keep thinking about this book is, as a sibling to someone with autism, how much I wish that I'd had access to a book like this when I was a kid or when I was a young teenager. I think that it would have been an just invaluable learning experience and, empowering, not just for myself, but my brother too, and my whole family. And I just think that this book is going to be a wonderful resource and source of encouragement and inspiration to everyone out there who reads it. And Tamika, I wanted to say thank you again to you for reaching out to me to be a part of this, book, and to be a little bit of representation for other siblings out there. So thank you again, Tamika.
Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for not only saying yes, thank you for roping your brother in so that he could write his sibling story as well. This story is different from any other story. One, because it is a sibling story, but it's a sibling story from both sides of what I like to say the spectrum. From those who
Our perspectives
sorry.
It's okay. Our perspectives are...
They're completely polar opposites in some degree, but what I love about it is that you have someone who agrees to be their sister's keeper and someone who has come to understand the differences, and it took them longer to get there. And they're honest about it, and that's what I love. And that's what makes it special, that story. Anyway, this is what it is, but to be live, right? Actually, this is life, guys. I'm unapologetic about these emotions that have just consumed me because they're real and they're valid. And when you read the stories, you'll understand for yourselves. So thank you, Hannah. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for getting your brother to do it as well. And thank you, Val, for helping us to get Hannah on board as well. So with that, I'm going to move on to our very next author. But before I do that, I wanted to take just a minute to do like a book giveaway. So, and I'm going to change the mood so that I can get excited again, even more excited than I am now. So we have 4 lucky winners that we have pulled their names if they registered, if they went through the trouble of registering and taking the time to do that and not just join us on the live feeds. So I wanted to announce 2 of our 4 winners right now at this segment. And so my lovely assistants who are behind the camera, Jeanette and Jeanette, they each pulled names, and I have no idea. Is that the list? Okay, yeah. So the first name that they pulled was registered number 24, Jamie Olson. Jamie Olson, you just won your own copy of For the Love of Autism. So, yay! Look, they even put on some applause. You guys are too much. I love them. Thank you. So, Jamie Olson, we will email you and I will make sure that you get your copy of For the Love of Autism. And then the second name that they pulled was registration number 98. And that is someone that I know. And that's Jamie Valentini of Rising Lights. Yay, Jamie! That's so awesome. You have won your own, actually yours I can autograph and personally deliver to you. So that's so awesome. Thank you, Jamie, for registering and for being here with us. Awesome. So with that, we'll announce the next 2 winners a little later in our program. But you're going to love reading all these stories from all of these amazing authors. I promise you that. And then I'll encourage you to please go write a raving review on Amazon, so we can get even more people on board to buy this book and change the world together. So with that, I'd like to introduce our very next author. Her name is Lecheé Motley. She is an autism mom and the founder of Gentle Therapy Services. Originally from the west side of Chicago, Illinois, she has spent the last 12 years in the northern suburbs raising her children and building her businesses. Her long-term goal is to become a speech pathologist, and she is currently pursuing her Master of Science degree in Speech Language Pathology with a concentration in Applied Behavioral Analysis, ABA. Soon, she will be taking her Occupational Therapy Certification exam and will become as well as her Registered Behavior Technician exam. After passing both of those exams, she will serve as a Certified Occupational Therapist Assistant and a Registered Behavioral Technician. Her experience with autism has given her the opportunity to meet some of the most amazing people. She enjoys networking with other members of the autism community, and you can follow her and find her on Instagram under Gentle Therapy SLP, as well as on Facebook. So without further ado, I welcome Lecheé Motley. Yay, Lecheé.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So first I want to start by saying thank you. It's truly an honor to be a part of this project, especially with so many people that I've been following for years and learning from behind the scenes. My journey is about me and my son, who is 12. His name is Brent, or King Brent, or Bugatti Boy. He has a lot of names. So that my chapter in the book is about my journey with him, and how much I have learned from him over the last 12 years. I thought that telling my parents that I was pregnant would be the most difficult part of being a teenage mom. But almost 2 years later, I was hit with more life-changing news. It was 2012. Brent was almost 2. It was exactly 2 days before his second birthday when the doctor told me that Brent had autism spectrum disorder. I wasn't shocked. In my heart, I already knew. But like most parents, I didn't want to admit it. I didn't know much about autism. I was still young. I was still learning how to be a mom, and I was still learning about myself. One day, my mom said to me, "It takes a special mom to raise a special child." And it was at that very moment that I had like my aha, or like a light bulb went off, and I knew what I needed to do. If I was going to be that special mom, I would have to learn as much as I could about autism, but more importantly, about Brent. Being Brent's student has taught me more than any book, class, specialist, or therapist could ever teach me. He made me the special mom and woman that I am today. And I encourage all parents and caregivers who are constantly learning to enjoy the small wins and victories. They will provide fuel for big challenges. That's a little piece from my chapter in the book. And again, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this project, Tamika.
Thank you for saying yes, Lecheé. Thank you for saying yes. Brent, I've been following you, as you know, on Facebook for a while, and Brent reminds me so much of my legends. And so I think the king and the legend deserve to be friends. So we got to get them together soon, please, because they're going to be great best friends. I can tell already.
Yes, I'm sure they will.
All right. With that, I'd like to present a very special person. I'll read his bio first and then I'll tell you a little more about him. Mark Mar Johanna is an autism dad and the founder of Otis Health, a free application that helps families, caregivers, and people with chronic illness manage their daily health and all their health information. It's all in one place. He is also a healthcare advocate and hosts live stream caregiver events on the topics of autism and senior care that can be found on YouTube, his YouTube channel for Otis Health. Mark is also a native Illinoisan, and he currently lives, though, in Northern California. And before I let Mark speak, I wanted to share this kind of fun story of how him and I kind of got together and met. It was all a fluke, I say, but it was a fluke that was meant to be. I had put a post out on LinkedIn, I believe it was. We were days away from the Autism Hero Project's big, huge event. It was one of our big money makers, and it was in March, and it was a few days from before the event, and then the pandemic hit. And our big money maker couldn't happen, but we had all of these raffles and we had all of these things that we had collected. So my board and I quickly got together and we said, hey, we're going to try to do this virtual event and have a live virtual kind of auction. And let's just see what happens through the Autism Hero Project. And when that happened, the day of, it was like the last hour, and I did like last call to get your raffle tickets. And some guy named Mark Mar Johanna, who I have now coined Marky Mark, my friend Marky Mark, bought $100 worth of raffle tickets, which was like a lot of raffle tickets. And he wound up winning. I think we had like 30 prizes and he won like a 10th of them, like 10 of them. And he was so generous when we kept calling out his name. He was like, oh my God, please give some of the stuff back. And then we had to re-auction off some of the stuff the following week because of his generous heart. And that's exactly what he is. He's so generous. And this Otis Health that he has created to help families, this free online, application system. I'll let him tell you more about it, even if he didn't plan to. But it is with a great honor and with a great pleasure that I introduce to you my friend, Mark Mar Johanna.
Thank you, Tamika. And thanks for the very nice introduction and the fun story. My journey is about Constance, my daughter. And Tamika, I know you'd asked me to write it. I think I said no 4 times. I'm glad you were persistent. Because it's just I didn't think it was a story anybody wanted to hear. My daughter passed away. But I learned a lot as her father, and I learned a lot about autism. Like many of you that had children with autism, we didn't know much about autism at the time. We had to kind of jump in and figure things out. And she taught me a lot. I really didn't understand how beautiful an autism child could be, and also how difficult it was to both for us as parents and more importantly for them as children and soon to be adults. And so in my journey, even though my daughter passed away when she was 8, and I could have just abandoned the autism community at that point, I never did. I'm still an advocate today for the autism community. I think it's really important. Yesterday, I spoke with an autism dad, and I talk to somebody with autism almost every day. And I think that I hope that my story is helpful for some parents out there, because quite a bit I learned that I can still try to share today. And as Tamika mentioned, my daughter inspired me to start a company called Otis Health. And behind me is a picture on this side, a picture of Constance with her dog Otis. The company's named after her service dog Otis. And you'll learn a little bit about that in the story that I wrote. And so thank you again, Tamika, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this incredible project.
Thank you, Mark, for saying yes. I think I was going to keep just coming after you until you finally said yes. I don't take no for an answer very well. I don't like rejection. So especially when I feel like the story is so unique. And I know you were worried. You were like, I don't have a happy ending. And I was like, there actually is a happy ending. And I'm glad that you were able to find the beauty in that. So I appreciate you for saying yes. Thank you. With that, I want to read the bio of the very next author. Unfortunately, she had to drop, and I'll read her statement that she just sent. But she's pretty amazing. So I still want to go back and read her bio and introduce you, the audience, to this amazing woman. So with that, I'd like to introduce Morenike Giwa Onau, PhD, Global Self-Advocate, DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and Disability Consultant. She's an educator, she's an author, she's a parent, and a disabled autistic person of color in a neurodiverse, multicultural, serodifferent family. She's a prolific writer, public speaker, and social scientist and activist whose work focuses on meaningful community involvement, human rights, justice, and inclusion. Morenike is a humanities scholar at Rice University's Center for the Study of Women, Gender, and Sexuality. She's the principal operator of Advocacy Without Borders and a member of several executive boards. Recently and forthcoming publications include a book that I read where I first discovered her, Sincerely, Your Autistic Child, from Beacon Press, and Neurodiversity in Noir from Jessica Kingsley Publishing. You can learn more about Morenike at morenikego.com. I know it's G-O for her name, but I like to say morenikego.com. Or you can follow Morenike on social media at morenikego. And she sent over a statement that I'd like to read for you right now. Thank you for your graciousness, everyone. I apologize for not being able to greet you all on camera. Life and parenting is unpredictable, with or without autism involved. And although I put my face full of makeup in preparation for tonight, sometimes you just gotta go with the circumstances in front of you. And I'm so sorry, but I'm so grateful to Tamika for bringing all of us together to create this amazing book, and Eileen Lamb for making me aware of this project. Thank you. It has now been over 10 years since my beautiful baby girl was diagnosed as a toddler as being on the autism spectrum, and over 9 years since my son and I were also diagnosed. These are the same 2 children that doctors said I would never give birth to, would never exist, yet here they are, lighting up the world every single day along with their siblings. The world told me that they and I were broken, deficient, devoid of empathy, and a burden to society. The world was wrong. All people have value. All people have worth. That doesn't change with autism. That doesn't change if a person is speaking or non-speaking. That doesn't change if a person has cognitive challenges, and it doesn't change if an individual needs significant support. I strive to model acceptance and resilience for my children, but I too am human. And there are times that I falter, which is what my chapter portrays. That sometimes we stumble, but we don't have to remain on the ground if we fall. We can get back up again. Thank you, Morenike. She wrote that statement in a matter of minutes while we were on this live. And that alone was impressive. But when you read her stream of consciousness, if you're not familiar with Morenika's work, she is definitely prolific. She's like a poet. She writes, and there's like stanzas and beats, so that I hope that when you read it, you can find the rhythm, because it's powerful as she is an advocate, a mother, and a human being. Thank you, Morenike, for being part of this project. I know that your story will bless so many. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to introduce the very next author. Thank you for your patience, Adam. Adam Otero is a happily married father of two. He's based in New York, where he works in brokerage operations. His son, Adam Jr., or otherwise known as AJ, was diagnosed with autism at the age of 4. AJ struggles with sensory issues and is nonverbal, but thankfully continues to make great strides with the support of family, teachers, and therapists. Adam is honored to have been able to participate in this project, which he hopes to bring about more awareness, further inclusion, and inspire more fathers to share their experiences with autism and their families. And when I invited Adam to be on this journey with us, it took some coercing. I had to get his sibling involved. I grew up with his brother in New York, and him and I are really close friends, Milton. And so together we were able to explain to Adam that we don't get to hear enough about the father's voice. There's so many women in this community, but there is a lack of voices for fathers. And that's why I was insistent with Mark. That's why I was insistent with Hugo Boss. And that's why I was insistent with Adam. And so thank you, Adam, for saying yes. And without further ado, Adam Otero.
Thank you, Tamika, for that amazing intro and for this opportunity. I've learned so much about autism and this community that we're all a part of. I'm really appreciative and grateful for being able to be a part of this amazing project, and want to give a special thanks to my wife, Sonia, who, when I was on the fence, got on the line with you, Tamika, if you remember, and said, oh no, he's gonna do this. As Tamika mentioned, my name is Adam Otero, and I'm the creator of the ASD Superhero League group on Facebook. I was asked to be a part of this project and give a father's perspective since my son AJ was diagnosed with ASD at age 4. It was difficult for me to share our story, be vulnerable, and share my feelings about my son and autism with the world. But I love my son. I love every part of him, and that includes autism. So I'm doing this for him, but my hope is that my story will inspire more autism dads to get involved in spreading awareness, supporting inclusion, and sharing their stories. Because while a lot of us feel like no one could possibly understand what our families are going through, I can assure you, we are all a lot more alike than we are different. We belong to a very exclusive club, or you might call it a league, like an ASD Superhero League. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Adam just started his social media pages like really recently when he knew this book was coming out. I don't know who pressured him into doing that, but it was probably Sonia, if I had to take a guess, right? But if you guys are listening, our authors as well as their followers, ASD Super League is now on Facebook and Instagram. And so I invite you to encourage Adam, and he posts some good stuff out there. So I say follow him, and let's all continue to grow in this community together. Thank you, Adam, for saying yes. Thank you for being a part of this. I appreciate it. And with that, I want to introduce the very next author. Casey Lucas Buzzard is the mother of 3 autistic children, Vivian, 12, Caroline, 11, and Gideon, 5. Professionally, she's a community and social media manager for Breezometer. In her spare time, she writes about her experiences and volunteers to help families access educational and governmental services to support their autistic kids. You can learn more and connect with her on social media at Therapy Mom, or visit www.therapymom.co. Without further ado, I want to introduce to you my friend, Casey. Yay, Casey!
Hi, Tamika, and thank you so much for that generous introduction. When I was first considering doing this project, I thought back to when I had the opportunity to attend a TED Med talk where Andrew Solomon was giving a talk called Love No Matter What. And it greatly influenced how I approached my daughter's autism. I was actually in the audience a week before Caroline, my middle daughter, who was the first to be diagnosed with level 3 nonverbal autism. And he talks about autism as an identity and not an illness. And that really impacted me. And I wanted to make that same impact on other people. And, I wrote a draft of my chapter and then I scrapped it. And the reason I scrapped it is because my dad was getting sick. And I thought about how our relationship, mine and my father's, was transformed by my daughter's autism. And what's interesting is by the end of writing this chapter, I learned that all 3 of my children have autism. My middle child was the first to be diagnosed with severe autism, and what I like to call my bookend children were diagnosed with level 1 autism as well. But my dad is a gruff South Side of Chicagoan who just was rough around the edges, and he and I had a period of estrangement, and because he had a temper, and we just really had a hard go of it for a while. But when Caroline was born, she was not only autistic, which we didn't know at the time, but medically involved. And he became her biggest fan and her biggest advocate. And there was a softness to him that came out. And when we found out that she had autism, he was the first one to rally around her. And I remember I told him a story. I called him because at the time we lived in Ohio and he lived in Arizona. And I said, well, your granddaughter took off all her clothes and streaked through the movie theater today. And he's like, my girl, my hero. And that was his response to everything she did. My hero. She could not do anything wrong in his eyes. And his love and passion for her, and even though she was nonverbal, he learned her signs. He learned to communicate with her before she could spell and use her AAC device. And through writing this chapter, through the process of me writing this chapter, my dad actually entered hospice and eventually passed away. And I was able to actually read him a final draft of this chapter on his deathbed. And he was so proud of the honesty and the way that we were able to tell the story and what it did for our family. And that, autism is hard. It's not easy, but autism brought us back together. And so, Tamika, I thank you for giving the opportunity to share our story, our truth, and our journey.
Casey, So I don't know if I even had a chance to tell you this. I may have in our several communications back and forth through the process. Your first story to how it completely changed into this other story that you morphed together in honor of your father as a tribute really impacted me, specifically because of my own personal journey. I had never met my father. And I saw just how in your first story till now, how you talked about he was this hard man and very stubborn, and the relationship that you had was not a great relationship, but how your sister's death originally transformed him, and then ultimately your daughter's autism, and how he changed to become the father you always wished that you had. And it just made me realize just that void I've always had. So thank you for sharing your story. I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people. Thank you. And I know your dad is watching right now, and I know he must be so freaking proud of you, Casey. So thank you. And with that, I'm going to dry my eyes and I'm going to read to you the very next author. This is a joyous event, guys. We're here celebrating. I know we're crying, but these, I promise you, these are tears of joy as we celebrate, honestly, just the beauty of autism. There's so much beauty in autism that we fail to see because we have our blinders on, because we're living in therapy every day, because we're just fighting to survive in survival mode, and just running. And we never get a chance to slow down and to find self-care and to self-love. And so that's what this book is going to do. It's really, I swear to you, this book is transformative. It is all about the transforming power of love and how it changes the hearts and minds. And if it can soften Casey's dad and make him the best version of himself, the way Legendary Kid has made me the best version of myself, I promise you, you're going to find such beauty and amazingness in this book. And I think it truly can change the world. I'm crazy enough to think that. And I think this is just that one first step. And so I want to introduce to you the next author. Leila Yada Harsha has over 25 years of professional experience as a board certified behavior analyst, certified special and general education teacher. She is also certified in early childhood education and educational leadership. Leila is currently the CEO and clinical director of Academic and Behavior Consultants, also known as ABC Health, which works towards empowering families of children diagnosed with autism through ABA and providing ongoing training in order to educate the community on acceptance and inclusion. Prior to this, Leila served as the Director of Education for a therapeutic day school serving children with autism. She considers her youngest child, Mustafa, diagnosed with autism, to be the blessing of her life. And Leila works to educate and advocate for others through her experience as a parent, educational leader, and a board certified behavior analyst. Welcome to the spotlight, Leila. Yay, my dear friend.
Thank you so much, Tamika. I feel blessed and honored to be a part of this project. At its core, this book is meant to support, guide, give hope, and empower others on their journey with their children. This type of support, it wasn't found in the past by many families. A lot of us had to do a lot of digging and searching to find anything that is similar to this. And truly, I hope I believe I may be speaking for all of us on here today that, we do hope that it serves to bring peace and ease into the lives of all of the families who are blessed with the privilege of serving our children. I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And in my section of the book, I really talk about how autism helped me find my purpose. The work that I did in the past, it was quite different from the work that I do now. And while it was important work, what I found is more valuable and rewarding. I found ABA when my son was young, and it helped him thrive. So much so that I decided to make it my life path and go back to school, because I figured if it helped him, imagine if he lived with a BCBA. And so I accidentally, within that, ended up finding my own purpose, or more purpose to that as well, which was to help serve other families. And now I have the distinct privilege of serving, advocating, and supporting and working with families and children that I would have never have come across if it weren't for my blessing, my son. And I wanted to share my letter to autism and my son with you all today. And so if you give me a little bit of your time. Dear Autism, you came into our lives and we had thought you had swept our child away, only to find out that you came to help us understand the true meaning of life, its rewards and tests, and what is most important. You challenged us in ways that we never thought possible. You challenge us to fight ignorance and superstition, to educate and advocate for others, and to prove that our children can and will. You challenge us to become compassionate and patient, and taught us to give the benefit of the doubt and to love everyone. You taught us to rely on our Creator, tawakkul. You taught us to serve others and see the blessings and beauty in everything. You taught us to celebrate every milestone met and every success had, and to cherish the innocence of our beautiful children. If every human being was as pure as our children, our world would be a much different and better place. As for you, my beautiful blessing, if you only knew how much we love you and cherish the privilege God has granted us as your parents, you are our blessing. We're blessed to have you in our lives and are thankful for the challenges that made us better human beings. With love and complete admiration, Mama. And with that, I just want to thank Tamika and her amazing team for their guidance throughout this process, this project. I also want to thank my husband, parents, children, family, and my tribe, my team that helps us support all of the families that we support. May this book inspire and empower all who hold it.
Thank you, Layla. Thank you for sharing your words of wisdom with us and the audience. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
The next author that I want to introduce to you, Mike Katora. He is a 54-year-old professional photographer from the Chicagoland area, born on the spectrum. He is an autistic man with many God-given gifts. He believes that his greatest gift of all was the ability to take great photos. He has an arts degree from Illinois State University and works for both Life Touch Photography Studios and Glancer Magazine, a local community living magazine in the Chicago area. Mike is excited to share his story so that others can learn about his journey through the autism spectrum and the trials and hurdles that got him to where he is today. He currently resides in the western suburbs of Chicago, and his ultimate goal is to live a fully independent life. Without further ado, I welcome you, my friend, Mike Katora.
Hear me?
Yes, Mike, we hear you.
Well, yes. First of all, I'd like to thank Tamika for helping us grow a better understanding of the autism community as well as the people in the spectrum. And I also would like to just quote a few things from my my statements that I had made in the book. You see, I didn't really discover autism when I was little, but it was about when I was 3 years old back in 1970 when I was diagnosed with the disorder. It is said that perhaps at that time, 1 in 25,000 people were diagnosed with autism at one point, but now, today, the odds are much more staggering, between 1 to 90 and to 110 and 1 to 70 in boys. Now that is absolutely positively shocking. And my understanding is that autism is also some kind of a term for the word self, which means that like people like us obtain ourselves living in our own personal self-made world. A world that was more or less wishful, tailor-made for them, mind you, but not necessarily able to cope with all of the surroundings of the real world, in which many of us don't seem to understand very well. Now, in my case, I think I noticed that when I was different from most of the other kids is when I started acting kind of peculiar, because I didn't understand what was going on in the real world, mind you. But I had to keep going to special schools and all that kind of stuff, you know, because I wasn't really a normal kid. But when I got older, maybe I might have just gotten the knowledge of the better understanding of the real world when I matured for some miraculous reason at all whatsoever. And with that, after I got out of grade school, I was taken off of special ed and I went through high school. And then, believe it or not, I went through college. Now, perhaps I owe my autism to my photography skills, in which I had the ability to compose a photo the right way. Just like a musician can compose a song, a photographer like me can compose a photo the right way, you know, because ever since I was in high school, when I was about 16, I decided to do some photography work and just try to keep up with all of my upper class memories in high school. The underclass memories, of course, I'm sure that a lot of you probably didn't like it because of the fact that you were kind of picked on all these years because you were the small guys. But when you were the big guys, then you have the perks, especially when you're a senior and stuff like that. And so after I mainstreamed, I got my degree in graphic arts at Illinois State University and started to try to create a career in graphic design. But that fell through because of the fact that, like, a lot of stuff is now being done automated. Automation in graphic design is kind of like, you know, the thing these days, and I can't make a career in that. But then again, after I left my graphic design career after 22 years, which wasn't really getting me anywhere, mind you, I decided to just step up with my photography, which has now gone digital. And digital is like, you know, you don't have to spend so much on expensive film or anything like that. So when I got my, when I started my career in digital photography, I just went through with it and I never looked back at it. And so with that, I was fortunate enough to be hired by a young lady by the name of Lindy Clevo, who is, of course, very supportive and is also the editor and publisher of Glancer magazine. And then about years later, I was fortunate enough to get a job down over at Life Touch. And it really brought back the spirit of all of my high school events that I attended to. And I felt more or less like a little kid again, like a teenager again, because I was doing works for sports and seniors and glance and dances and all that kind of good stuff. And it really, really kept me going. And I would not want to miss this job for the entire world for some odd reason whatsoever, because I love it so much. And now I'm getting more independently financial wise and more independent in my living than I ever did before because of it. So I owe it all to my autism for becoming the man who I am. And I'm not going to take 54 years of my life going on 55 and condense them down to a simple interview, mind you. All I can say right now is, because if I can quote of an article that I have done, I would like to say that I only wish we could have done more so way earlier in the time when I was diagnosed. And then again, with the help of my family and friends, the journey with autism made me for the man who I am today. So please don't judge me by what I am, but who I am, so I say. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Your story is awesome, actually, and it's funny, which is so awesome that it's even funny. And I think they're going to really get a lot out of it, and they're going to be able to see life through your eyes, and that's the most important thing. So thank you for saying yes, Mike. I appreciate you. Really quickly, I met Mike when I was hiring for our very first gala for the Autism Hero Project, I was making it as inclusive as possible, hiring autistic photographers, videographers, artists, commissioning awards. And I searched high and low until I could find an autistic photographer in the area. And thank God we found him, because we've been connected ever since. So thank you, Mike, for sharing your story. And thank you for saying yes. And with that, I want to move on to the next author, who it was like a dream come true, right? When she said yes. She was another one that told me no repeatedly, and I just wasn't taking no for an answer. So I'd like to introduce to you Brenda Weitzberg. She is newly retired as of Saturday. I was at her going away retirement party. She was serving as the executive director of Aspiritech, a Chicago-based not-for-profit that was founded with her and her husband in 2008. Aspiritech was the first company of its kind here in North America. It was established to empower neurodivergent adults through meaningful employment combined with social opportunity. Brenda has had more than 45 years of experience in social services, nonprofit management, and throughout the years, Brenda has worked collaboratively to secure funding to develop and implement innovative programs to meet urgent community needs. These included a community-built playground for Baltimore City Head Start program, Camp Star, and evidence-based summer treatment program for children with ADHD, and right from the start, a home-based early intervention program. There is so much. Her resume is so long, because it's all just good accomplishments and accolades. And I'm so glad that Mark connected us, Brenda. And so without further ado, the spotlight is yours.
Just jump in?
Yeah, you're on live.
Okay, now, you know, my resume is long just because I'm old, you know. That's what happens. It's just nature. But I have to say, I do miss that energy and tenacity that you have. Oh my goodness. I think I'm among other people saying, this woman really doesn't take no very easily. And it was a point in my career where having to plan for our new building, Aspiritech just bought, you know, completed a capital campaign, and it was very nice for Tamika and Hugo to come. It actually was Sunday. That's why I'm even more tired. It wasn't even Saturday. And we had a fantastic ribbon cutting ceremony with, you know, dignitaries and the mayor and lots of our staff. It was very exciting, and it was a very exciting way to finish my career up to this point at Aspiritech. It was 14 and a half years working there. And my chapter is really an interview with you, because I probably was the last person in, and I talked about the evolution of Aspiritech. I'm very honored to be among all these other authors. I have to point out Mark Johanna. I knew Constance. She was a beautiful child. Very devoted parents. Mark was an incredible volunteer, board member, and advocate for Aspiritech. Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. A lot of what I heard today resonated deeply, what Casey said and others. My own son is 44 years old in a couple of weeks. So when he was born in 1979, we didn't really know, you know, what was going on. And as he's gotten older, he did go to college, to a 4-year college and university. And after that, we were looking for a solution. It was like, what's next? And that was almost 15 years ago. And I've just watched how the field has changed. I've been very honored to be part of a movement that has watched autism transition and transform into a broader, the broader neurodiversity movement. And I really have learned so much, and I'm so lucky, from the staff I've worked with. I really applaud ASAN saying nothing about us without us. For any other entrepreneurs out there looking to start businesses, you have to remember always to have a neurodiverse leadership team, across the neurodiversity spectrum. And we're very proud that all of our QA managers, because Aspiritech does quality assurance, and its team is almost 90% autistic. And all of the QA managers and the leads are on the spectrum too, and were promoted from within. I used to think of what I was doing as a civil rights issue of expanding opportunities, harnessing talents, not depriving people or assuming things. And that has really morphed into more of a self-determination movement. It's quite amazing to see. So I do dream of the day that the business world looks at neurodiversity as part of the DEI spectrum. I think we're still lagging. We look at DEI in many terms: gender, race, etc., ethnicity. And there's, as we know, there's a lot of intersectionality between that type of diversity and neurodiversity. And I just hope that there's a broad spectrum of opportunities in the future for people on the spectrum. Thank you so much for including me.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you for all your work at Aspiritech. It is definitely an organization and company to model. Thank you for paving the way and showing us how to get it done and how to get it done right. And I encourage all of our viewers and followers who are looking to become entrepreneurs and businesses, or who already have an existing business, to please tap into Brenda, because she's absolutely right. In our DEI space, we're all talking about everything but really inclusion. And inclusion starts by making sure that you're incorporating neurodiverse communities in the leadership every step of the way, not just having someone, at the front to be the exterior, but someone at the table making the rules and being incorporated fully. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. And with that, I want to introduce our very next author. Ana Carolina Uribe Ruiz is a private pilot, the co-president of WAI San Francisco Jefferson Award recipient. She is also a mentor for STREAM, science, technology, robotics, engineering, arts, and math, where she shows young girls that they belong in these spaces. She is a contributing author to Latinas in Aviation, a proud member of the 99s International Council member. She's an international private bankers organization, and she's a fierce advocate for her son and others. She believes we must all just make a difference in the world to help our future generations while helping to teach others to embrace differences. As a proud mother of an autistic son, she believes that individuals should be who they are, and together we can help to elevate them to conquer steps towards independence. Without further ado, we welcome Ana.
Thank you very much for allowing me to be in this space, and everybody. Yes, very, first, Tamika, thank you, and Jackie for connecting us in a way that it has been a pleasure. Inclusion, acceptance, understand our differences is key for our children and the young adults, because it's okay when they're little and we see them as something, he's doing something small and nice, but when they are becoming adults is when the key is, what do we do next, right? The school district is set up in a way that they help our children, and then when they become adults, it's our work, right? We need to find them. We need to find a place for them. We need to keep advocating for them and finding ways that they can belong to a place that they can be themselves. So I'm very proud of my son. He's working a couple of days a week. Every step of the way has been a pleasure. Our discovery is not easy, but they teach us every day. And that teaching moment is always a gift. I'm having blessed to have a partner that allows me to be me and allows my son to be him. So together as a family, it has been really nice to see evolving and growing, and every step he makes is a stronger one. So it's nice to see that coming. The book is, is a way to show other people that it's okay to have a child that is different. And for many of us, in my case at least, I have only one. So I don't know really what it is to have a regular child. So I need to embrace every single moment that I have with him and little things that he does. What is difficult is the teaching. You need to teach the people around that it's okay to be different. It is okay to see somebody for who they are and allow them to grow. So when you go to the supermarket and they look at you, it's like, what is he doing? So you need to explain to the person, yes, it's a little bit different. That's okay. Or the regular peers that are in the school. Funny, because in my son's case, his friendships are for the regular kids. He's not a kid like him. So it has been nice to see that evolve. And today he talks to them over the phone. He has FaceTime. They all have gone to the universities. Every time they come back to the houses, they come and visit. So it has been really nice. So let us teach them. Let us teach the other people that it's okay to have somebody that is a little bit different and to embrace that difference. And as they say, they are not special children. I do think God gave us what we can take, but in that giving is giving the parents that are the special ones to keep these kids growing. So thank you again for the opportunity to be with you.
Thank you, Ana. I appreciate you, and I agree. With that, I'd like to introduce our very next author, Alicia Jerez Graycheck. She was born in Brooklyn, New York. She became an attorney in 1996 and was appointed as a justice of the New York State Court of Claims in 2021. She married the love of her life, Phil Graycheck, and in 2003, and together they raised their beautiful daughter, Grace, who is now 16 years old. Justice Graycheck serves on the board of directors of the Hagedorn Little Village School, Jack Joel for Special Children, a school for children with special needs, and through word of mouth, her name has become synonymous for being an autism warrior. And she has counseled numerous parents regarding all aspects of autism, including educational services and the emotional toll of the diagnosis. Alicia has also served as a parent advocate for parents with children with special needs and appeared before the school's committees for special education, where services and accommodations are determined for these children. In her personal life, Alicia loves the ocean and living in a beach town where she watches her daughter, Grace, surf all summer long. She surfs all summer. She is a fitness enthusiast and enjoys traveling with her husband and their adventurous daughter. And while she comes on the screen, I just want to share, Alicia and I know each other from New York. We have a very good friend in common, her ex-sister-in-law, one of my best friends growing up, Michelle Chela. And she was the only person that I knew personally who had a child with autism and who would share publicly about her journey with autism. And so she was the very first person that I called when I got the diagnosis. And it took me a little while to do it. And she was the only person who knew for nearly 2 years. And so, Alicia, thank you for your words of wisdom that day. And I'm so happy that we're on this journey together. The floor is yours, Alicia.
Thank you so much, Tamika. So when Tamika first approached me about becoming a co-author on this book, I can honestly say that was the last thing I wanted to do. You see, I share a lot of things about my personal life when it comes to my daughter, Grace. But there are other things in my life that I hold very close to my heart. It's not, they're very personal things, but they're just things that I don't feel comfortable discussing. So my daughter's story, you say, well, there's nothing more personal than that. And when it came to my daughter's story, my perspective completely changed. It's not that her journey wasn't
personal. There was a purpose to sharing her story. And that purpose was to help other parents cope and learn to deal with this type of diagnosis. I wanted parents to know that notwithstanding the diagnosis, our children can and do really amazing things. So that's why I've always been so open, and Tamika knows I was out there with my story right away. And so there are other things that I don't feel as comfortable sharing. And so the reason I started with, I really didn't want to do this. This is a hard thing for me to share. My father is terminally ill, and he was diagnosed last July. And Tamika knows this. I haven't really shared that with that many people. It's something that I shared with those closest to me, people in my circle. In any event, it's just a difficult, really difficult time. I'm very close to my father. I have 3 brothers. I'm the only girl. I'm his girl. I'm a daddy's girl, always have been and always will be. So to write about my journey and Grace's journey with autism was particularly challenging now that you understand the background that I have shared with you. Tamika was so gentle with me, so gentle, so encouraging, and so supportive. She would reach out, and she knew I was struggling to get these feelings on paper. I was having to go back. My daughter's 16 now, but I was having to go back to what was the most painful time in my life. And I had to relive that while I'm living in the second most painful time of my life, which is dealing with the fact that I know I'm losing my father. And so, I'm just so grateful, Tamika, that you stuck with me, because there came a point in time when I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. So please proceed without me. Just, write your book. And she just wouldn't give up on me. Such kindness. So I thank you for that, Tamika, for helping me see this through. As your husband mentioned in the beginning, I being a writer is something that is quite difficult. I didn't realize it, because I'm writing about a very personal, journey. As a judge and as an attorney, my writing, I do a lot of writing. I've been writing for 25 years, but what I write are legal decisions. I write about the law, I interpret the law, and I apply the law to the facts as in the case before me, and that's basically it. So this was a really, really tough journey for me, but now that it is done and it's all on paper, I'm just so proud of Tamika for getting this project done. So let me just move on. I want to tell you about my daughter. My daughter just turned 16 years old. Like some of the stories here, she was diagnosed very early. She was diagnosed before she was 2 years old. As you can imagine, that was a very, just difficult time. My daughter is now 16 years old. She is just the most amazing human being that we know. She attends our local high school, Long Beach High School. She is in 11th grade. She is taking chemistry and geometry. Doesn't take after her mother in that respect. Though I never took geometry. I quit after algebra and chemistry. I couldn't get through it. She has aspirations to go to college, and we know that she will. So it didn't start off so well. But how I wish I knew back then what I know now, the heartache that I would have saved myself. There's a quote from my chapter, and I write, parenting a child with special needs is hard. The fear is real, but a lot of what we imagine is not. And so that's the message that I want to share with you. And these type of forums is very difficult to, get across your full message, but really that's, I think, the most important message. Look, this stuff is hard, but it's challenging, but you get through it. The things that you fear, most of them never come to pass. They just never do. And so I'm looking at this amazing child that I created, that my husband and I poured into. And she's happy, and she's a typical 16-year-old in so many ways. She's fully aware of her autism. She knows she has autism. She knows what it means. And it's just a part of who she is. And so she accepts it, and she gets it that it makes her quirky, sometimes different, but that's who she is, and she's good with that. And this is something that I share, and this is what I want to end with. This is something I share with my daughter. Though you were born with autism, it is not who you are, and it certainly does not define you. It is merely a condition with which you were born, and that's all it is. And she is the most amazing human being, and I am so honored and privileged to be her mother. And so thank you, Tamika, and thank you to all the other authors. It really is just so wonderful to be here and to have been offered and given this opportunity. I wish you all a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Alicia, for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your words of wisdom. I love you. I love the amazing Grace. And I'm thankful that we're on this journey together. We are down to our last two authors, and Dr. Temple will be the last speaker. So I wanted to tell everybody to hold on. You guys have been doing great. We've got 10 minutes left in this, and then we're going to make a toast and celebrate all together. And so I want to introduce to you the very next speaker. This woman has grown a special place in my heart. Lecheé Ortiz. I don't want to even butcher your last name, Miili. And if I said that wrong, you can re-say it correctly. She is an autism mom who is also a certified autism support coach. She has been recognized for her work with autism moms by Neiman Marcus as one of their faces of beauty. She truly is a beauty, honoring women making a difference campaign. She has participated in many symposiums on autism awareness and parent panels. And before becoming an autism mom, Lecheé was an actor in her hometown of New York City, something we have in common, appearing in TV shows and commercials and more. Today, she works as a recipe developer and food blogger. Her food that she puts online all the time looks so damn amazing, and I really need some lessons. Hugo Boss would really appreciate it if I watch and actually put it into action more. She has been featured in Panasonic, Walmart Plus campaigns. She's also holds an advertising and marketing and communications. She has been married since 2000 to her husband, David, and has 3 children, Evan, Connor, and Natalie. I welcome Lecheé.
Hi, everyone. And I am one of those people that Tamika had to really convince because I had this imposter syndrome situation happening, and I felt like I cannot write. I am not a writer. And then I sat there, and then I just started writing and writing and writing, and then I couldn't stop. So then I went over, right? Tamika and I have something very much in common, and that is that we are very high-spirited women, very happy women, very loud women. So thank you so much, Tamika, for inviting me and then just kind of, keep pushing me. My story, you'll definitely read. But my story is more about how the loss of my child, of my daughter, actually made me appreciate the disability of my son, right? Because he was a twin and she passed away after they were born, and he survived. So just the fact that I lost her was enough for me to just see him as he wasn't even a person to me. He was like a gift, an angel, like still is. I have changed my entire life because of what's happened. I like Tamika said, I was an actor. I was really, really happy with my job in New York. But then I understood that I needed to put all my attention and my time into my son. But then at that same time, I realized, okay, I kind of been taking this in a way that I never imagined that I would. Like, I'm taking this really, really well. I'm talking to so many people. I'm connecting so many people. I'm connecting with a lot of people. And I thought maybe I would go back to college and get a psychology degree to help other moms, but then that would be a lot of years of schooling. So I decided to instead get a life coaching degree to help moms of kids who are newly diagnosed, right? To just kind of start that journey of just newly diagnosing them. And I decided to do so at no cost to the moms, because I realized how much money we spend on therapies that are not covered. For example, my son today is 13 years old. He is nonverbal, but he does communicate via the iPad. So I always look at that as my son can kind of talk, right? Because he can communicate and tell me what he needs and tell me what he wants. And he's very good. Like I probably am the only person who, like, I just have to look at his face when he comes up to me and I kind of know what he wants already. So we have this intuitive connection that I think that if you get to know anyone very well who has autism, especially if they're nonverbal, that there are these cues that they give you that if you know them well, you will know exactly what they want, how they feel. He is just the sweetest boy in the world. Does he have meltdowns? All of that? Absolutely. But how would anyone feel if you can't communicate fully, right? So I never take any kind of feeling that is negative against him. I always have compassion for him. So I feel that if there were more people that were compassionate, not just people in our lives, but people everywhere. And like Tamika talks about a lot, inclusivity. One of the things, I don't want to talk too much, but one of the things that I do want to emphasize is the fact that I'm always correcting people when they talk about my son next to my son, like he can't understand and like he can't, break down what this person is saying. So I always correct them and I say, well, can you, Connor's right here. So, watch your words, especially when they say certain things that are not, they just, to me, I would be insulted if it was said to me. So basically that's the gist of what I want to say today, but my story is a lot deeper when it comes to the book and sharing about my daughter, her passing and how he came to be about. But one of the things that I also want to drive is that no matter what, the day that your child was diagnosed, she is the same person they were the day before the diagnoses. They're no different than the day before. That only means that now you have to maybe give them supports to help them further on in their life. So that's the one point that I always drive to any mom that I speak to. And then I say, let's just grab these reins and let's just go for it and let's do it all. So, that's kind of all but I just have all this energy because I'm just so grateful to be in the company of all of you and obviously to be included in this book and let's do this journey together with this book, right? Let's have a good time promoting it, right? So that others can learn about our journeys. Thank you.
Thank you, Belkey.
I love you.
I love you. You need to cook for me when I see you soon, okay?
Trust me.
All right. The final moment that I know so many viewers have been waiting for. This is an epic, monumental, colossal dream come true. Eileen Lamb, you made this possible. Eileen, you are forever engraved in my heart right here. But I am about to introduce someone who needs no introduction in the autism community. Dr. Temple Grandin. She is a professor in the Department of Animal Sciences at Colorado State University. At age 3, she was nonverbal and had all the symptoms of severe autism. Livestock handling systems livestock systems that have been designed by Dr. Grandin and used all over the world has made her completely famous. And half of the cattle in the United States and in Canada are handled in a center track restrainer system that she designed for meat plants. That's crazy to believe that. This was someone who was nonverbal, who they thought was severely autistic. And in 2010, Time magazine named her one of the 100 most influential people in the world. She was also featured in an HBO movie, My Dream Come True, Temple Grandin starring Claire Danes. There have been several articles about Dr. Grandin, and she's appeared in the New York Times, Discover Magazine, Forbes, USA Today. She's also appeared on shows like Larry King Live, 2020, 60 Minutes, Fox and Friends, and has given TED Talks. This is someone who does not need any introduction. She has been named in CEO World Magazine's 10 best professors in the United States and has been inducted into the Women's Hall of Fame. And without further ado, I welcome to you, Dr. Temple Grandin.
Well, it's great to be here today. I'm honored to be part of this book. And one of the reasons why Tamika got the book together is she's really insistent. She had to get after me some too. And I'm glad I was able to come on and listen to some of the other talks. I just want to emphasize how important my mother was in my success. I was very lucky to get into very good early intervention. She was always stretching me. I was good at art. And I would just draw the same horse head over and over again. And she said, well, let's draw the whole horse. She broadened my interest, kept broadening it and developing it. That is really, really important. Now, autism now is a big spectrum. I mean, Elon Musk came out on Saturday Night Live that he's autistic, and then you have much more severe autism. And one problem I'm seeing is sometimes some parents get too locked into the label. Mother had a semi-professional theater that she was very, very much involved in. And so she had a whole nother life. And she was always pulling me and my sister into theater stuff and making costumes and doing things. I just got off another show with Autism Live, and there was a great people on there taking autistic kids surfing. And they found that they just got out there and loved it. Another place I went to, they got autistic kids on boats. We get autistic kids on horses. And one of the things that this does is it shows parents that maybe their kids can do a lot of stuff that they don't think they can do. Because the tendency sometimes to over coddle and overprotect the kid. I'm saying too many kids that can't order food in restaurants and they're 16 years old, fully verbal, and they've never gone shopping. Well, what's given my life real meaning is getting into a good career. And I'm 75 years old. Well, I'll be 75 this summer. Won't have to take my shoes off at the airport anymore. Won't that be nice? It's getting harder to get them on. Now I got to have a chair to get them back on. But I want to say people get up and have great careers. I really am glad that I got to hear Mike's talk. Okay, he was in graphic design. That didn't work out so well. And then he discovered photography. And he just took off with that and made a business out of it. I could also see how he sounded so happy when he was talking about photography. I'm glad that I listened to that. Now, I always like to talk about the different kinds of minds. And there's scientific research that shows the different kinds of minds exist. I'm a visual thinker. So the kinds of things I'm good at is art, photography, animal behavior, and a lot of people with my kind of mind are very good at mechanics. In fact, the people that built my designs, I'm going to guess that about 20% of them were autistic, dyslexic, or ADHD. And one of the worst things the schools ever did is taking out all the skilled trades classes, taking out art, theater, cooking, all of that stuff. Worst thing they ever did. Still can't do algebra. I don't know if I could graduate in California. And so what would I do? Somebody waved a magic wand and I'm 18 years old, no money, but I had my knowledge. Well, I know how big corporations work. You go get a job and you work up. You learn every job and you work up. I've seen people do that in the meat industry. They go and they get a job, and then 15 years later, they're designing a new plant addition. I've seen people do that. Then you have the mathematical minds. These are your chemists, your programmers, the pattern thinkers, the musicians, and then you got people that are word thinkers. It was shocking for me when I finally found out that these different kinds of minds existed. In fact, I'm writing about them in a new book called Visual Thinking. Yep, so you can already pre-order on Amazon. The shameless book promoter. Now, where I got friends was friends through shared interests. Some of the best fun I ever had was out in the construction job. We talk about how to build stuff and how stupid the suits are. And I want to see individuals get into careers, because I really saw Mike just light up when he started talking about photography. Yep, and he's smiling right now, and I'm looking at him, and he's starting to get independent on his money. I think that's just wonderful. You see, and that's using a skill. I've been doing a lot of talks recently with big corporations, IBM, Dell, S&P, banks. Some of the banks now are reaching out because they know that people with autism are very good with the numbers, but they're also very good at selling fancy financial products that I don't really understand. And then I heard they talk about a Spiritech. That's really good. I actually went and visited them. And I think that's a great company. And I always like to push the business side of it. People on the autism spectrum have got skills businesses need. Like I heard about, they were working on looking at websites and checking them out. And they found out this one company was losing 20% of their business because a phone number got transcribed on a website. And the Spiritech employee found that. Well, that's a skill that people value. And they're testing some very high-end, very fancy headphones. I can't tell you who the client is. That has to be confidential. But they got to make sure that headphone works with every conceivable mishmash of devices that you could hook them up to. That is a skill that business people need. I'm actually very concerned right now about losing skills. We no longer build the state-of-the-art chip making machine. There's a picture of it there I got online. State-of-the-art chip making machine. It's from Holland. How about the Zeiss electron microscope? I visited one of those about a month ago. Or how about a poultry processing plant and 100 shipping containers from Holland? Yeah, there's some stuff that we're not making anymore. We're paying the price for taking out skilled trades. Don't stick your nose up at it. I'm talking about people on the spectrum. I worked with them. They're all my age now. Building big, complicated stuff. 20 patents. One person I worked with, he has a corporate jet. I can't tell you what Willy Wonka makes. He made me sign an NDA. But this is one of the things that really gets me upset as I go back and forth between the autism world and the industrial world and the business world. Business people need our skills. And I've got 2 more big corporate talks tomorrow. Yeah, and I need to explain why they need our skills. Also, having an interesting career made life worthwhile. Just like Mike just lights up when he talks about photography. And I talked to another guy, he's on the spectrum, and he wanted to do a documentary on autism, and he was sounding kind of depressed. And then I found out that he did fabulous ski photography, and he did it for major networks. And when he talked about that, he got all happy. I said, you need to really get into ski photography. You know, find something that's a skill other people want and value. Make yourself really good at it. And when you're weird, I give you a little advice. This is how I sold jobs. I showed off pictures of my work. This book has gotten ripped because it's been held up here so often. I learned how to sell my work rather than myself. And I just love to talk about stuff like concrete forming systems. I'm going to just end up the fabulous plane ride I had with another construction person, and we talked about tilt-up concrete warehouses, how to build them, stuff that's wrong with them, and concrete forming. That was a great flight. That's an example of shared interests. So I'm hoping, I want to see the people that are different get out and have a career. Okay, now we have a big spectrum here. But somebody is nonverbal, there's a lot of things that they can do. They often get underestimated. Some nonverbals can learn to type independently. There's some very good books out on that. Like Tita Mukapadahe, How Can I Talk if My Lips Don't Move? Carly's Voice, The Reason I Jump. But the sequel to that book's better because Noki's older. I'd get the sequel to The Reason I Jump. And these people write independently. We have to start looking at what we can do. I'm going to just end my little talk with a quote from Stephen Hawking, who was interviewed by the New York Times. And Stephen Hawking said, concentrate on the things your disability doesn't prevent you from doing well. And he said that right before he died. He could do math in his head really well. So find something that you can be good at. And I just want to see the individual different, get out and get into stuff that they really like. And I just love the surfing, the people that took the kids surfing and adults surfing. And the parents go, oh, he could do that. Yep. So thank you for having me. It was great to be here tonight.
Thank you, Temple. It's unbelievable. You guys, we are at the very end of For the Love of Autism's virtual book launch. And I wanted to announce the winner of the last 2 books real quick just before we close out with a celebration toast that we'd like to everybody to take this time to go grab your favorite drink and join us while I name off these last 2 winners. Registration number 254, Amanda Sanchez. Woo woo! You get an autographed copy of For the Love of Autism. And also 321, Heather Kendron. Heather Kendron, you also get a copy of For the Love of Autism, and we'll be shipping that out to you, and I'll be contacting you by email. And with that, I just want to close out and just say thank you one more time to Fig Factor Media, Olean Technology, the Autism Hero Project, whose 501c3 nonprofit vision is to prepare kids with autism for the world and prepare the world for them. And all of my authors, I want you guys to know that this book, one more time, could not be made possible without you. The book is now available on Amazon for purchase. Please purchase your copies. Please write reviews. Please share and connect with the authors. Go forth to the website fortheloveofautism.com. You will find all of their social media handles there, and you can go out and connect with all of them, follow them, and let's all together just know that we are stronger together. Being together is better, and we want to change the world for the love of autism. Raise your favorite drink as we make a toast and close out. Yay! We did it! All of you are officially authors. Half of you already had been authors. Amen.
Yeah.
It looks like you're drinking a baby bottle of orange, Eileen. I love it.
Cheers.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tamika.
Guys.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good job, everybody.
On the extra 11
Bye,
minutes. I
everyone.
appreciate you guys.
Bye.
Love
Great
you.
job.